morning. I'm here today to talk about learning activities, instructional materials and tools, and evaluation instrument. The learning activity should serve the purpose for which it's done. The activity must meet the objective set for a particular lesson. The second one is the most appropriate instructional materials are the real-life experience which cannot be supplied in the classroom. The next is different type of learning activities. The introductory activities and developmental activities. The introductory activities, these activities are usually done at the start of the school year, at the start of every new lesson. An example is invite people to actively participate and encourage them to get to know another. Developmental activities. These are activities intended to enhance acquired knowledge, improve on skill learned, and apply or put to good use the information acquired. In short, development activities are means to creating an exchange and value workforce like cruise training, formal training, matching teams, and etc. Data gathering activity. The tools are what they usually make use of in actual life situation and can be made readily available of gathering information. An example is interviews, questionnaires and surveys, observation and focus groups. Organizing and summarizing activities. Teacher do plan or structure the lesson plan by assigning improved to activities. This will be helpful in measuring the extent of understanding of the experiences during the activities, and it will make sure as well if objective has been.
Application activities. The intention is to enable the learners to master and improve their performance and identify the content areas that have to be improved, like creative and expressive activities. These activities provide the use of imagination and expression of one's feelings, thoughts, and ideas about the insight acquired. Like, for example, making a DIY, singing, dancing, role-playing, and art and designs like drawing or painting. And, of course, even in literature class, the students are made to write poems or short stories. Next, we have the concluding activities. Usually, these are activities learners engage in as part of the application of the newly acquired knowledge. So this will be the form of a wrap-up, after which they submit the summary in outline form. Also, the teacher can summarize the important points to be remembered by the learners. The Table 6 presents the types of learning activities for active learning. Bodily, kinesthetic, naturalist, existential, intrapersonal, and interpersonal.
Appropriate instructional materials and tools. It is the responsibility of the state and school in particular to provide an adequate number and range of instructional materials and resources in a variety of formats that are appropriate, timely, and essential to the attainment of specified educational objectives. So, example, textbook, computer software, videotapes, frames, and etc. So for me, we need specific teaching materials such as videotapes, books, and more. They help teachers and students in this matter. They play an important role in the teaching and learning process. They provide a basic outline within the classroom activities that will take place and will also give each child the best possible opportunities for learning.
Different types of instructional materials and tools. Relia is making use of real-life representation such as object into the classroom and learning environment to enhance the learner's knowledge about the topic and or concept. So Ralia is an object or activities that used to relate classroom teaching to the real life, especially to those people who studied. Example of Ralia is a desk, chair, or poster, or it can be something that you've brought from the outside class. And then sound and visual resources. Video has made available several video systems that allow audio-visual experiences to be stored, retrieved, and produced and needed. So, in sound and visual resources, educational materials are directed at both and the sense of hearing and sight, like films, recordings, photographs, and etc. that can use inside the classroom or instructions like library collections. Videotapes. When applied to instruction, they are used to demonstrate, explain, record, and replay data. So videotapes is a recording of visual images and sound made of a magnetic tape. In video cassette they are easier to use since they are lighter. Video cassette, they are easier to use since they are lighter. So video cassette is a electromechanical device that can record, stores, and playback videos or television programs. Video discs, they are assembly long playing record but they have a larger storage capacity. Video desk is a system can combine best features of instructional television and computer assisted instruction. But because video desk use with a special player and television to produce both pictures and sound. Video games. Educational material using this format is considered an effective instructional tool insofar as acquiring teaching learning skills and solving math and science problem are concerned. Video games is an interactive entertainment. They promote intellectual skills that support academic achievement in students and educational subject matters. They demonstrate further advantage. Making use of video games in the classroom is simply another technique to engage with students. Microcomputers resources. Computers have been integrated into instructional method to build a sense of inquiry among learners to explore and improve their thinking skills. So teachers fit their microcomputers into previous established classroom and practices temporal arrangement. Microcomputers can help the students to understand more and can help them to improve their thinking skills using some textbook, film, and digital learning like animations, images, and videos.
Pictures and pictorial representation. Two-dimensional materials are visual appearing to have height and width, such as the flat picture, which is sometimes referred to as a universal language, since everybody can read pictures. Symbolic and graphic representation. These provide summarized information and are effective tools for instruction. Projectors, viewers, players, recorders. These are instructional materials enlarged on a viewing screen using a machine that throws image. So first, let's go back to picture picture and pictorial representation. Some basic ideas of a pictorial representation or pictograph, often related types of symbols or pictures, are used to represent a specific number of objects. For example, a symbol may represent 1 or 10 or 100 or 1000 or any other number of related objects. The symbol or picture use is very simple, clear, and self-explanatory. The quality, the qual, I mean the quantity rather that each symbol represents is indicated clearly in the representation. I or E scale is mentioned clearly. Number one example is uh, a the object whose pictures or symbols are used. Different kinds of animals like birds, insects, men, women, boys, girls, fruit like mangoes, grapes, oranges, apples, trees, cars, scooters, bicycle, plants, etc. Then the number two is the symbol or pictures may be colored, so such colors should be used, which are very common, like red, blue, green, yellow, etc. Or, or the only the pictures of common fruits are used, such as bananas, apple, guava, orange, grapes, mangoes, etc. That is a example of pictorial representation. Next is symbolic and graphic representation. Symbolic graphic representation is this is one of the most important tool in learning. It's because a symbolic and graphic representation provide a summarized information and are effective tools for instruction. Then symbolic and graphic representation refers to the use of intuitive charts to clearly visualize and simplify data sets. Data is ingested into graphical representation of data software and then represented by a variety of symbols such as lines on a line chart, bars on a bar chart, or slices on a pie chart, from which users can gain greater insight than by numerical analysis alone. So this kind of a tool can quickly illustrate general behavior and highlight phenomena, anomalies, and relationships between data points that may otherwise be overlooked and may contribute to prediction and better data-driven decisions. This type of representational can be used will depend on a type of data being explored. Projectors, viewers, players, and recorders are the instructional materials using a machine to throw the image. This four is one of the instructional materials that the teacher needs, because these instructional materials or the content or information convey within a course, then except the four that I say, there are also included instructional materials, which is a lectures, readings, textbook, multimedia components, and other sources in a course.
Now, I will be discussing one of the different types of instructional materials and tools, and it is a media resources. Media resources, it is a sources of information facilitated through electronic media, teleconference, teletext system, print and broadcast media, PowerPoint presentation, and overhead projector. Media resources means the sequential use or simultaneous use of media formats that help us to communicate to the other people and could help us to make our work easier and less hassle. And there are 6 kinds of media resources. First kind of media resources is electronic media, which means schools can now select television programs develop educational purposes. Electronic media is very common nowadays, not just in school settings but also in work settings. We can easily present something with the use of this, like we just find some video representation and that is related to our topic, and then present it to the class or to the people whom you are being discussed with. The second was teleconference, which means communicate and interact with the other people in different places. Teleconference is very known in the world of communications since it helps us to communicate to our loved ones, friends that is far from us via telephone, Viber, FaceTime, and many more. As of now, online class is a new platform of teaching. Teleconference is very known on this area since teachers and students communicate using Google Meet and even Zoom. Next is teletext system. It is one way of a system in which information is sent to receive through TV broadcast. It simply means that it is a kind of system for broadcasting text over an unused portion of a television. We often see it on air, like sending their messages through the use of television, or we can call this panawagan. And the next is broadcast media. It is provide information to the public through radio broadcast and television's program. It is one of the means that help us to inform in a certain issues that our country facing. Example of this broadcast media is TV Patrol, 24 Oras, Brigada, and the likes. They give us information, news, or an update about a certain issues. Next is PowerPoint presentation. PowerPoint presentation, it had its beginning from Microsoft software program and was officially launched on May 22, 1990. This PowerPoint presentation can be seen in Microsoft software. We can do our presentation using this means, and it is not time consuming, and we can create a sightseeing. In addition, PowerPoint presentation is very known to us since, as I observe, this means is usually used by the teachers nowadays than visual aids. Lastly is overhead projector, which means it is a teaching device that throws an enlarged images of transparency on a surface above and behind the person using it. It is also a useful thing. It helps us to have a bigger look of a picture, or it helps us to present something that was visible to our eyes. And that are the 6 kinds of media resources.
So here are the principles to consider in using these technologies effectively in the classroom. So first, all instructional materials are aid to instruct, but they do not replace the teacher. So we all know for the fact that instructional materials are only used to assist the teacher, not to replace a teacher. So no matter how good instructional materials are, they cannot or it cannot replace the teacher. Second, choose the best instructional materials that will suit to the instructional objective. Of course, the teacher must know what are the instructional materials na gagamitin niya just to fit the instructional objective na ginawa niya. Like for example, the teacher is going to present a video. So, ano ba yung instructional na gagamitin niya? Pwede laptop, TV, projector, mga ganon. Number 3, avoid using too many materials that will confuse students. Of course, dapat minimize lang yung gamit mo ng materials kasi baka malito yung mga estudyante mo dahil sa rami ng ginagamit mo. As I said sa number 2, choose the best instructional materials that will suit to the instructional objective. Number 4, check instructional materials before the class start to be sure if it is working properly. Of course, the teacher must check first the instructional materials na gagamitin niya before mag-start yung klase kasi baka magka-error habang nag-start na yung klase niya and then madidelay yung discussion nila with the student. Appropriate evaluation instrument. So here are the evaluation instrument instruction. First, determine the entire scope and range. Of course, you have to know or you have to set a limitation of your evaluation. And then second, simply select simple instrument. You can simply ask your participant by having a survey or multiple choice. And then third, review a criteria. Of course, you have to review your criteria. You can set your criteria to the evaluation you are doing. And then fourth, develop a survey. As I said, you can simply ask your participant by having a survey. Then fifth, review the needs assessment and survey data. Of course, you have to review the needs assessment or yung ano pa yung kailangan suriin sa participant mo or sa mga student mo. And then, you have to review the survey data. Yung survey na, yung information na nakuha mo sa survey mo, you have to review that. And then, 6, conduct internet research. Of course, you have to conduct a research in line with your evaluation. And so 7, prepare a report. Of course, you have to prepare a report na nagko-contain ng result of your evaluation.
Next is pre-assessment knowledge. These are skills, beliefs, and attitudes which influence how they attend, interpret, and organize incoming information. So, this pre-assessment knowledge is are the instruments or methods teachers use to determine students' knowledge, skills, or dispositions before instruction. Theoretically, pre-assessments knowledge help teachers determine where to begin instruction and provide teachers with baseline data from which to plot students' learning progress. Then, some pre-assessment knowledge are broad, others in grade level or course learning goals, and are administered at the beginning of an academic year semester or semester. Others are narrower in scope and are administered at the start of a specific unit focusing on that unit's learning targets. Some advocates even recommend using pre-assessments at the beginning of every lesson.
Example of methods for assessing prior knowledge and skills. Concept inventories. Multiple choice or short answer tests that zero in on fundamental concept within a domain. A concept inventory is a task to assess students' conceptual understanding in a subject area. Teachers use the result to plan instruction and also monitor changes in students' understanding. Next is concept maps. Concept maps can reveal the underlying structure or organization of students' knowledge of a concept or constellation of concepts. Concept maps are visual representation of information. They can take the form of charts, graphic organizers, tables, flow charts, Venn diagrams, timelines, and P-charts. Concept maps are especially useful for students who learn better visually, although they can benefit any type of learner. Lastly, the self-assessment probes are indirect method of self-assessment that ask students to reflect and comment on their level of knowledge and skill across a range of items. Self-assessment probes are assessments that ask students to reflect and comment on their level of knowledge and skills.
Formative assessment. It is used by the teacher to qualitatively evaluate pupil understanding, learning needs, and their curriculum during a lesson. It helps students identify their strengths and weaknesses and target areas that need work. The goal of formative assessment is to monitor student learning to provide ongoing feedback that can be used by instructors to improve their teaching and by the students to improve their learning. So, for example is, ako ay isang guro. So, sa aking end ng lecture is, magbibigay ako ng isang activity. So, ito ang activity. Submit 1 or 2 sentences identifying the main point of our lecture. So, in this case, I can assess my students if they really understand me, if what I am talking, if they comprehend it. And it also assess myself as a teacher if I deliver my lesson clearly. So that's all.
Summative assessment is to evaluate and assign a mark to their students' learning at a particular point in time. It is usually given at the end of a course or unit. The purposes of summative assessment: first, determine the extent to which the instructional objectives have been met. Second, clarify students' mastery of the intended learning outcomes and use for assigning grades. Third, provide information for judging appropriateness of the instructional objectives. And the last is to determine effectiveness of instruction. These should be made available in handbooks via Blackboard and or course unit outlines.